Good morning, class. How is everybody doing? As we all know, we just finished The Giver, and today we're going to be going over some of the symbols and themes that we see in The Giver, because a lot of things in The Giver have meanings beyond what we can even just read. So the goal of this lesson is to be able to analyze these symbols and connect them to like real world issues so that you guys can get a real understanding of the symbolism that's going on, and also to develop critical thinking skills and digital literacy. So a big part of this lesson will be using technology. So I'll be using things like a smartboard, graphic organizers, and YouTube videos in order to get you guys to really understand the symbols and themes that we are seeing in The Giver. So, what are some of the standards that I'm going to be using in this lesson? So this lesson is going to align with NJ Standard for Reading 6.1, which focuses on citing textual evidence. It also emphasizes analyzing themes and developing critical thinking. So, what's going to be the goal by the end? By the end of this lesson, I want all you students to be able to identify the symbolism and themes that we see and explain to me how these connect to societal issues that might be going on right now, issues that you can think of yourself, and to be able to articulate this to me, to be able to tell me in your own words why a particular theme it connects to something that's going on right now. So, if I were in the classroom, I would start by putting a picture on the board of a sled. Why would I put a picture of the board on the sled? Because this is a very big symbolic thing in The Giver. So to start the class with my students, I would say, I would be like, what do you guys think about this sled? What do you think the sled in The Giver symbolizes? And then as students start answering me, I'll write that on the board. And after I've had the class discuss all the things about what they think that the sled might represent, the themes that the sled might represent, or just in general, like freedom, whatever, things like that. Like whatever they tell me, write this on the board so that all the students can see what everybody wrote down. After this, I'm going to read a passage from the book. So, with his new heightened feelings, he was overwhelmed by the sled, having such a strong, exhilarating feelings about the ride. He felt such peace and joy as he slid down the hill. After this, I will ask them, why do you think that he felt such powerful feelings as he was going down the hill? And then have the students give me their responses the same way I did when I put the picture of the sled on the board in the beginning. So for this, it's because the sled represents freedom. So I want the class to understand that the sled is a representation of freedom for Jonas, that he feels free when he rides that sled, when he has the exhilarating rush of going down a big snow-filled hill. It's a feeling. It's very comparable if you look at society right now, like in terms of what are things that make us feel free. Well, we could say things like fast cars. A lot of people are very addicted to the feeling of driving a vehicle that has a lot of power, because it gives them a sense of freedom, of just being on the road, the open road, and being able to have this powerful machine that you have control of. Something that it'll really help the students to understand why the sled is a representation of freedom. After discussion with the class, after discussing the idea of the freedom that the sled makes Jonas feel, I will split them into groups, and I'll give them each a specific theme or symbol from the book that I want them to discuss in these groups. And another key passage in the book talks about an apple. And so I would go over that right like before I have them split into groups. The passage goes like this. But suddenly, Jonas had noticed, following the path of the apple through the air with his eyes, that the piece of fruit had, this was part that he couldn't adequately understand. The apple had changed. This is an example of one of the passages I would give the groups to analyze, and this is because the apple, it represents knowledge and change. So it's representing a person going from ignorance, basically, to gaining knowledge over time. And as you gain knowledge, you become less and less ignorant. And that's what the apple in this situation represents. So after I allow them to split off into groups, I will have them come back and I would have them discuss in front of the class with their groups the symbol they got and what it means. Because I want the students to be able to say it in their own words. And occasionally here and there, as they discuss, I will add things in order to spice the conversation up a little bit and add details that maybe they might have left out while they were analyzing it with their groups. After we're done with all this, with the group work and going over the themes and symbols, I want to be able to deepen their understanding. And sometimes it just gets really boring for students to just sit in class and listen to me talk. So instead, I will put on a YouTube video that's going to analyze the themes of the giver. This will help them to get a deeper understanding of why the symbols were placed where they were, why they meant what they meant. It'll really help them to grasp the entire symbolism within the giver. After I put the video, at the end, once the video has played, I'll have the students complete an exit ticket. The exit ticket will give them the leeway to be able to pick which theme or symbol they connected to most today. So the question will go as follows. Which symbol or theme from the giver connects most to the real world today, and why? This will allow me to see where their critical thinking skills are, how well they are up to date with the things that happen in the world. It'll give me a real good sense of not just their baseline knowledge of the giver, because just knowing what happens in the story isn't enough to fully understand the story. But being able to connect it to real world examples will really show me that these students have really paid attention in the lesson, understand the themes of the giver, and it will really give me a really good idea of what's going on with these students in terms of their education of the giver. Overall, once this lesson is over, I will give a test on the symbols and themes to really just dial in and make sure that the students really get a grasp of it. I want them to be able to go into that test and ace it with the knowledge that we went over in class. So they go home, they study that a little bit, and that test will just be summative for everything that we went over in the giver in order to make sure that the students have what they need down. That is it for class today. That's all we will be going over. I hope everyone has a good weekend, and I will see you next time.